Oak, co-founder and CPO of Valerie, and we'll be talking about Olas, and in particular about building autonomous agents on Olas. So for those of you who don't know what Olas is, let's find out. The tagline is Crypto's Ocean of Services, and that's because Olas enables anyone to create such services. We'll find out what they are in detail, but you could almost make an equivalence between them and autonomous agents. Olas breaks down into three parts: protocol, framework, and the ecosystem. So the protocol is deployed on-chain. In this case, Olas doesn't have its own chain. Instead, there are deployments on currently 8 chains, and the ambition is, and we're certainly in the process of deploying on every major EVM chain, and Solana is also already part of the mix. The framework is sort of the off-chain part of the stack, and it allows you to build these services. We'll learn more about that in a second. And then the ecosystem are basically all the people, obviously, who are contributing to it. Namely, there are sort of a couple of roles which people can take in the ecosystem, and we'll get to that as well. So a point of relevance, Olas has actually been doing autonomous agents for quite a while. So we started in 2021, late 2021 with Olas, and it then came in stages on-chain from summer 2022. And we just this week, no, I think on the weekend, hit a very exciting milestone, which is that Olas agents have now made more than 10% of all safe transactions ever on Gnosis chain. So, yay. So this idea that autonomous agents will become crypto's billionth and trillionth user, I mean, we're at the very beginning there, but it's realistic, I think. So what's an autonomous service? Well, there's a couple of things we want in autonomous agents, and I'll motivate that. So firstly, kind of by definition, we want them to be intelligent. That obviously can range anywhere from rules-based to kind of learning-type agent architectures. We want them to be flexible. Flexible here can mean a lot of things, but certainly one element of flexible is being able to interact with ideally anything and everything. That means like off-chain APIs, on-chain smart contracts, and so on. And we want them to be crypto native. Now, crypto native, again, can mean a lot of things. And actually the stack, we'll find out, lets you kind of define that, configure that almost. One thing which it means is just interact with blockchains, use them like an end user, make payments, contract with smart contracts, have programmatic on-chain interactions. But another thing is that of decentralization. And so autonomous services, we'll find out, are effectively autonomous agents which you can configure to be run as decentralized off-chain networks. Now, as a result, these autonomous services kind of combine features. It's obviously not replace. All these other technologies have their role, but they combine features which you can find in smart contracts, web services, and automation. So let's uncover the beast. It's a bit unfortunate that I have to always be so close to the microphone, but this is an abstract representation of an autonomous service where the service takes the form of a deployment with 6 nodes or agent instances, as we call it. So these cute little agents there are your agent instances, and they collectively form the autonomous service. So the autonomous service runs off-chain as a sovereign network, right? Yesterday, if you were here, we had quite a few presentations about AGI and how autonomous agents are sort of the path there. And what always came through again and again was the importance of these kind of systems being sovereign, because it's kind of in the name. If the autonomous agent doesn't have sovereignty over itself, if it sort of needs to be run by something else, then or poked by something else to even be autonomous, then that already reduces its autonomy. So therefore, in Olas land, each autonomous service is its own small off-chain network. And in this case, it's 6 agent instances. But the great thing the Olas stack allows you to do is you can run the exact same application as the 6 instance network. You can also run it as a 50 instance network, or you can run it as a 1 instance agent instance network, right? So it's basically just a single agent. And that's exciting for a couple of reasons. Firstly, if you think from a developer standpoint, you're not going to deploy your network on day one with a whole bunch of node operators. So it's very practical if you can run your agent initially just on localhost as like a single agent. And then sort of maybe you run it on localhost as like a distributed system with 4 agents. And then eventually, once your system is mature, you might decide to run it as a decentralized network where you have different operators, let's say in this case 6 of them, each operator running one node, like you would have in a blockchain network. And the use case for that, we have some in Olas and some outside. Olas DAO, for instance, has this product called Contribute. It's effectively allowing it to control or more like direct the social media hive mind of Olas by rewarding specific social media contributions, which are scored by this autonomous agent system. And in this case, the system is running as this off-chain network, and the Olas DAO actually owns it on-chain. Now, we also have these 2 bars here on the left. What are they trying to say? Well, on the left, we have this point being made that autonomous services can, by their nature, because they run off-chain, pull data from various places. So be it your centralized API, or be it just on a node of an existing network. And then they can act on one or multiple networks at the same time. So a given autonomous service can be deployed against a single network or against multiple, and get its work done there. Why is the safe logo there? Specifically, we use account abstraction. So every single autonomous service basically has these off-chain nodes, each having a single key pair. And then you have on-chain this smart wallet. And effectively, it looks a bit like a multisig. You have this off-chain autonomous service acting on this on-chain wallet. Now, a couple of final things on the architecture. So there's this infinity symbol. Is another important thing about autonomous agent, which I like to make. In my mind, and certainly the whole team's mind, if you have an autonomous agent, it really only is truly autonomous if it's running all the time and sovereign. If it's basically a smart contract, which certainly has its role as an architecture, which requires to be poked by basically being transacted upon all the time, I would think that definitely has a tremendous amount of use cases, but I personally wouldn't call it as an autonomous agent, because in my mind it's not capable of taking action by itself, and that is one of the key definitions of an autonomous agent, is being able to act when you want to, not when you're just being transacted upon. So by now you're probably all converted, but no. If you have any questions about the architecture, please reach out and we can help you further. Just to give you an idea of what can be built and has been built. So I mentioned Olas Contribute here on the bottom. That's this product where effectively community members get ranked with a large language model off-chain by this autonomous agent system on their social media contributions, and the DAO can adjust over time what kind of engagement it wants to foster. L-Collector is an example in the NFT space where an autonomous service basically acts almost like a collector of NFTs and continuously, kind of based on some preferences it has encoded, kind of goes around and collects them. Autonomous Fund is more on the DeFi side, where this actually specifically works with Balancer under the hood. So Balancer has this concept of a smart managed pool. A smart managed pool is like your average, like your run-of-the-mill pool, except that you can adjust the weights dynamically over time. And so what this then means is if you have this off-chain autonomous service owning this on-chain smart managed pool, it can like be basically a complex oracle to this pool and adjust these parameters as it wants to, and then by the nature of people trading on Balancer, this pool will sort of reflect that index. So you basically can build index products and things like that. It's also an interesting application of DAO treasury management, by the way. So you could imagine like plugging that into Contribute and sort of having a feedback loop between that. Automation, I'll skip because it's kind of obvious the use case. Oracle is also pretty obvious. There's very interesting, more sort of fully on AI-focused use cases. One is that of the governator. So we heard that a couple times yesterday as well, this idea that you have basically DAO decision-making being sort of encoded in an autonomous agent and it then running continuously and on behalf of the DAO. Well, that's a reality here in an autonomous service already. We built that actually last year at ETH Denver. Oak and I had a lot of fun because if we think back about what was discussed yesterday, one of the challenges with building these kind of systems is that you ultimately going to use some forms of large language models under the hood. And one big challenge here is sort of your model being poisoned. Another one is being, even if your model is correct, it might hallucinate. And actually one of the big benefits of this architectural approach is that you can basically build an autonomous service which uses many different models, pools, comes to consensus off-chain on what these models tell it to do next or how to interpret a certain proposal, and only then take action either on snapshot or on chain. Prediction agents is actually the biggest use case. That's the one which drives probably to about 90% that metric we saw earlier. There's 3 types of different agents, and I'll let Oak talk about that.
So we'll get more into the. Okay. Can I take this out? I just move it around a bit. Nice. So we'll talk specifically about prediction agents. That was the last service that David came to. But yeah, I'm basically going to be moving on to the section about like what you can actually build at the hackathon, or in general with the stack. And become an Olas builder, if you like. Actually, just out of curiosity, I mean, this is a hackathon, but like, how many devs do we have in the audience here? All right, nice. Okay, so David just mentioned the prediction agent service, and as he said, there are multiple different agents who contribute to this service. The output of this service is predictions. It's basically. It says three types of agents. So one will listen to new prediction requests and make sort of deploy prediction markets on chain. The second one will actually watch for those markets, research them, and place bets in those prediction markets. And then the third one will answer the markets, sort of arbitrate them. The betting one is probably the most relevant one for us to talk about, and it's sort of the biggest focus of what we have bounties for at the hackathon. So I'll just go through that quickly. So you can see at the top, first thing which happens is that the agent will look watch for new prediction markets. So it's very focused on current events currently. Obviously, it can expand later, but that's what it's focused on today. And so your agent, if you're running one, and there are many out there running already today, will see a new market being created on Gnosis chain on the Omen protocol. It will then use AI tools to get a probability and a confidence score. So the agent uses this tool called Olas Mex, which is an AI tool marketplace. If anybody has questions later, we can go into like exactly how that works. And so the agent will pay a bit of money on chain and basically in response get a probability and confidence score level back. And then next, it will use that probability and confidence level to participate in the prediction market directly, and potentially it will receive some earnings if it does well. Those two at the bottom should actually say prediction market, of course. So that's the sort of the overall setup of these prediction markets. And as I say, like the bounties that we've got is pretty focused on this. So moving on directly to the bounties, we recently released this site. You can go to it at build.olas.network. And what we've aimed to do here is like make it super simple for people to know exactly what to build. You can see that each of these has rewards available that like completely separate from the bounties. And again, maybe that's something we can go into more detail about, but suffice to say, the Olas protocol rewards developers for contributing useful code, or it's designed to rather. So the first bounty is to create a MEX tool for prediction agents to use. So again, MEX tools are these AI tools which these prediction agents can use to sort of inform, to basically research questions and come up with a probability. So what you'll do here is if you want to build this at the hackathon or otherwise, you can go review all of the existing MEX tools. There's a repo there. You can take a look into them. You can then implement a new tool. It's fairly straightforward. It's more or less a simple Python script. Thirdly, you can use a benchmarking tool which we've developed to sort of understand like how accurate the tool you actually build is. And then finally, there are a few steps that you go through in order to get your PR. You open a PR to have the tool reviewed, and then follow a few steps that can ultimately lead to earning build rewards. But most relevantly here is that if your tool does perform well on the benchmark and it's in the top 3 at the hackathon, then you'll be eligible to win a 500 USDC reward. Yeah, worth noting that the tool does need to be minted on chain via the protocol. And if you need help with that, then, or with any of this, then please do come and find us. The second thing that you can build, and this has a single bounty available for it, is a trading strategy. So the MEX tool is actually sort of the AI tool which researches a prediction market, whereas a trading strategy is obviously a strategy that the agent uses in order to decide when and how to participate in the prediction market itself. So again, the simple process is to review the existing strategies, come up with an idea that will outperform those, or will take another useful route, and then similarly again, open a PR, mint it on chain, and submit it in the hackathon. The final option that you've got is, and there's a slightly bigger reward here because it does sort of require a little bit more, I don't know, it's not quite as straightforward as the other ones, is to sort of come up with an entire agent or an entire autonomous service yourself. So, I mean, David went through all of the services that we've got. We missed it, but there's actually a section for kits, which is sort of like, like a set of templates which you can use to directly boot things up. And you can go through it, but that could be a good place to start. And in order to get access to this bounty, you'll need to develop a full service, mint it on-chain, and then have that service perform at least one transaction on-chain. I think that's it. So yeah, that was an overview to Olas, and also an overview to the to what you can build in this hackathon.
I'll just say one extra thought, which I just had. I think a couple of the protocols who are also sponsoring are quite composable with our bounties. So for instance, if you build a Mac tool, as Oak was saying, you would effectively write this Python script where you might use various large language models, various other APIs, various other technologies. You could, for instance, use a model deployed on one of those providers who are also sponsoring, or you could maybe even look into, like, is there some kind of verifiable approaches to some part of that compute? So there's a lot of, I think, composable ways of doing that where you can sort of max your bounty take home, so to speak. And for those watching online and anyone after the in-person thing, we also have a Discord, which is manned at working hours, but like we're very active in it, and we have all the kind of team members, the engineers there as well, who are happy to answer any technical questions.